What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content daily. We also stream over on Twitch at This Is Aftersound, so come by and say hello. All right, I want to talk about Splinterlands and DeFi Kingdoms today, and some of the similarities and differences, and I guess the fundamental difference that I'm seeing between both games. So, full disclosure, I am still dabbling with DeFi Kingdoms. I'm not as experienced in it as I am with Splinterlands, obviously. And for example, I don't have a hero yet, so I'm not actually doing any gameplay, but I try to watch a lot of videos and content on it to really understand how the gameplay works and what they're doing. I also listen to a couple of the AMAs. They do weekly AMAs for DeFi Kingdoms as well. So that's actually been kind of fun to see, because I'm hearing DeFi Kingdoms being name dropped in a lot of the, I guess, YouTube influencers, crypto influencers that I follow. So, it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, DeFi Kingdoms seems to be gaining popularity. I've been waiting for these same influencers and thought leaders to mention Splinterlands, but it hasn't yet. So part of that is like, okay, maybe we're really flying under the radar. And the other part is like, maybe this game just doesn't have the traction that I think it does, right? So we're somewhere in between there. And that's just kind of where my thought process goes back and forth. Now, the thing with DeFi Kingdoms, and I covered this in the previous in a previous video where I was talking about dabbling in it, or dabbling in a couple different games, with DeFi Kingdoms being one of them, is they do, and when I say they, I'm sorry, DeFi Kingdoms does decentralized finance very well, right? DeFi. So they put the DeFi in DeFi Kingdoms. That's really what it comes down to. And in listening to the AMAs and kind of understanding the roadmap and how they've gone along, because I listened to some past AMAs too, it's one of those things where they have built a decentralized exchange, right? A DEX, and this decentralized finance platform, and are now adding kind of gamified elements on top of it, right? So some of the things that I covered, and just to touch briefly on it, it's like you go to not the tavern, you go to the marketplace, and here, the trader is essentially just a swap. So it's similar to a Uniswap or PancakeSwap or any kind of decentralized exchange. Your Druid here creates seeds. All right, you can buy seeds or create pools, essentially, which are just liquidity pools that you can provide liquidity to and earn crazy amounts of yield on. And so what they've done out of this is like I said, they've created this decentralized finance platform, and are now adding a game to it. Now, the game part seems incredibly basic. So you get a hero, and the hero, goes through and you click missions. And to me, it's very idle clicker, very similar to Rising Star and some of the other idle clickers out there. There's not a lot of game elements to it, in the sense of like having a strategy, doing it in real time or somewhat real time. Now, if you go to the tavern here, you can see we can buy, oops, that's not the one I wanted to do, but you can buy heroes. And again, part of the reason that I haven't bought one is because they're going for over $300 US, and that's just not something I'm looking to spend right now. Although I may look into renting and just kind of dabbling more in the gameplay, just so that I can fully understand it. But from what I do understand and from what I've seen and learned, the gameplay isn't there yet. Now, there's a lot of excitement around the upcoming gameplay and what these heroes can do, and the team has done a good job of really making Jewel, the token for DeFi Kingdoms, an essential part in so many areas, right? So this is a situation where the token there, and they only have one token, it's just Jewel, is such an integral part. It has a lot of utility, and therefore has done decently well since it came about. And let me go ahead here to CoinMarketCap, and we can see this was out in November, the end of November of last year. Had a nice pump, and then I guess with the ensuing market collapse, actually this dump happened in January, so it was at $8 or so, and kind of swimming along. Looks like it hit a high of around 22, 23, and now we're back down to $7. Again, part of that is probably due to the just where the market is overall, with Bitcoin kind of dragging everything down and being boring. Although I haven't done any kind of analysis on this, so take all of that with a grain of salt. So the thing is, as we look at DeFi Kingdoms and I compare it now back to Splinterlands, Splinterlands, in a sense, did the opposite, right? And Splinterlands is a much older game in a sense. It's been around since 2018. SPS came out in July of last year of 2021. So I guess it did launch before the Jewel token, at least according to this. I'm not sure. Unless Jewel launched way before CoinMarketCap started tracking it, which I highly doubt, then it would seem as though Splinterlands is much older, and obviously SPS came out before it. So what Splinterlands has done and what they focused on from the beginning is they've built a game and are now transitioning to build a DeFi ecosystem or a DeFi platform around it. Again, we don't really know the full details for land except that the scope of it has expanded dramatically, and there's a lot of talk about what kind of DeFi elements could be brought in with land outside of the gaming elements, right? But to really, really add in the DeFi elements would essentially be the opposite of what DeFi Kingdoms is doing, where they built the platform first, and it's a phenomenal platform, but now they're building the game, whereas Splinterlands is doing it the opposite way. Splinterlands has a game and is building the DeFi platform around it. So my quick takeaway from that and just this whole situation is that games are hard to come by. DeFi platforms, in a sense, are a dime a dozen. Now, granted, there are awesome DeFi platforms and there's bad ones and then there's scams, right? So I'm not trying to discount the value of creating a really, really solid tokenomics behind a DeFi platform. What I'm trying to say is that the game and creating a game that people want to stick around for is difficult. And if I was to compare the two, that is where the real challenge lies. So looking to the future, to me, Splinterlands has already a proof of concept, right? Because they have already created the game. The game is addictive and the player base continues to grow, or at least has a solid player base, fan base now. Whenever we'll have another bull run again, I'm sure we'll bring in a lot of people because, again, you have to keep in mind that within the past 12 months, we went from 8,000 players to now 300,000 daily active users. And even if you say half of those are bots or 60% of those are bots, we've still done X's in terms of the amount of players that have stuck around today. That player base was significantly higher during the the bull portion of the market back in October and early November. So as the crypto markets kind of go up and down, I'm sure we'll see player bases kind of follow that pattern, just because if the earnings aren't there and if it's difficult to earn or the earnings go down, you get a lot of people trying to spend time in other games or just doing something else. So looking at DeFi Kingdoms, I guess what I'm trying to say is they have not proven, they don't have a proof of concept on the game yet. That doesn't mean that they can't. And I actually, listening to the team, there's a lot of really smart people there, and I was very impressed with the AMAs, and I'll probably be tuning into those regularly. So if you guys want me to do breakdowns on that, let me know. Again, I'm only trying to cover content outside of Splinterlands and some Rising Star. I'm really only trying to cover content that you guys want to see and hear. So I'm not trying to fish for comments, so you don't have to comment here, but definitely find a way to let me know if you do want me to cover any of that. But like I said, I'm intrigued by this. I haven't put any kind of significant capital in. I haven't bought a hero yet. What's interesting to me is they've built the DeFi platform, and now they're trying to, and they've done a really good job with it. And the tokenomics behind Jewel are fascinating to me. I still don't fully understand them, but I've been reading the white paper. I've read the white paper actually twice now because I'm trying to really fully understand it. Sorry, that's just how I am. I just try to really dig into things until I fully get it, so that I can explain it to probably anybody else that wants to listen. So I'm excited for where DeFi Kingdoms will go, and obviously there is a lot of hype and there's a lot of hype and attention on it, just because I think it did so well with the DeFi platform that many just regular crypto folks that aren't really into the gaming side, right, where Splinterlands isn't necessarily on their radar, they hear about it because the APRs in DeFi Kingdoms is ridiculous, right? And again, just to have a little example here, you have Jewel, it's primarily Jewel, although you can get, like, if you do Jewel in one, and this is on the Harmony blockchain, so it is the Jewel 1 tokens, 272% APR. The highest, I don't know these tokens, so I don't really count those APRs, because that's, well, I guess Matic is 294% APR, not APYs. That's actually crazy. So you have Luna here. I'm a big fan of the Luna blockchain, so 265. Even, if you go all the way down here, granted, this isn't a real Bitcoin. This is a wrap Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can get 14.38% on that. Now, keep in mind, these are liquidity pools. There is risk of impermanent loss. And at the end of the day, there's risk that, you could get rugged, but that's the same thing. To be fair, that's the same thing that could happen with Splinterlands, right? So you never know if your money's on a platform. You gotta have full faith that you're taking a risk. Let me just put it that way. So I'm not trying to FUD any of these games. I'm just saying I'm discounting both of them, because it's essentially the same across the board. Like, unless there is something, I don't know, that you're privy to, any kind of information that you'd be privy to, inside information. To me, as an outsider on all of these, it's just like, okay, well, I'm kind of trusting the team to not disappear with any money that I put in here. But this is where the hype is at, and I fully understand it, because in a lot of other decentralized platforms, or decentralized finance platforms, you can get things like this. But I think the charm here is the fact that you're doing it with, like, these little pixelated characters, and it seeds in a garden with wizards and druids and traders. Like, it's gamified, and people love that, right? Myself included. Like, it's more fun that way when you gamify this. And then on top of that, you're making money, real money. But it's just gamified. So that's kind of where I'm at right now when I was comparing both of them. And I think that there is a lot of promise for both, obviously. And I'm trying to give my reasons for both. But what I love about Splinterlands, and taking it back to here, is the fact that they have the proof of concept already for the game. The game is popular. There is a player base here. I can tell just by myself, because I know that I'm addicted to playing. I enjoy it. The strategy, the kind of, Gank talks about it reminding him of poker. And I think that's actually a very, very good explanation, or analogy, I should say, because it's very, you're looking at what are your opponent's previous hands, what do they tend to play, what's their tell, can you counter them? And sometimes you get totally thrown off, but other times what you're up against, and you can try to put your best foot forward in that case. So I think, obviously, I'm very bullish on Splinterlands, but in exploring DeFi Kingdoms, that was one of the interesting things. Like I said, that they're doing this the opposite way, where they've built out a great DeFi platform and are now trying to get this game going, and have made heroes a big part. Jewel is integrated very well with, the way that heroes operate. And I'm not going to get into all of that now, just because I'm still understanding it, but it's just outside the scope of the video. So that is the crux of it. So two different games, kind of taking two different approaches, or actually exactly opposite approaches, but both, in my opinion, are successful as of right now, and I think will be, or at least have a very good chance of being highly successful in the future. So we'll just have to see how that all plays out. All right, that's all I have for you guys. Would love to continue the discussion. Let me know if you are playing DeFi Kingdoms, what you think of it, what you think of the game, and how my comparison, if my comparison makes sense. Because if you're playing this game, you probably have a little bit more experience than I do, and I would actually love to hear your perspective on it, from playing both Splinterlands and DeFi Kingdom. So I will probably, I don't want to make any promises, just because I'm trying to figure out how I would move stuff around. But I'll probably start messing around with some of the gameplay elements if I can figure out how to rent a hero, and then go from there. So I can at least speak more to the gameplay elements. Again, let me know if you guys want to see more of this content. I like the game, but I'm not fully sold on going all in the way that I have with Splinterlands. And obviously, it's hard to go. It's hard to go all in on everything. How do you go all in on 3 or 4 different games? So at this point, Splinterlands is still the first love. But like I said, I'm just dabbling, and want to make sure. And this is important to say. I want to make sure that I'm not in an echo chamber. right? Because I think it's very easy to be in the Discord, be on the Reddit, be on whatever, and be like, oh yeah, this game's going to the moon, right? It's just a matter of time. Like, I really want to understand what's out there from a competitive standpoint. And, you know, you may look at these two games and say, well, it's not really competitive. And there's an argument to be made that, you know, everybody can play both. And a game like DeFi Kingdoms doesn't necessarily require time. Yes, time is a zero-sum game, but it's, you know, if everybody's allocating X amount of time per day to gaming, it's very easy to play multiple games. So again, it will be interesting to see how this goes. That is all I have for you guys in this video. Would love to get your opinions. Have an amazing rest of your day. I will catch you all in the next one, and I will see you around the games. Take care.